Welcome to Lock It Down Sports. I'm your host, Locke Hoover, and as always, you can follow me on Twitter at Lock It Media. That's Lock It Media on Twitter. You can also check us out at E5280 Sports. That's E5280 Sports. And today on this show, who is the best team in this conference? What CBS is wishing they had, and a World Series preview. But first, let me get into some of the action from last week. And one of the things CBS is wishing they had was the 10.7 million viewers that watched Alabama and Tennessee, which was the third most watched game this year in college football. And boy, did they get a game, ABC did. After the crazy, I've got to do a topic on this later, maybe next week about the CBS, SEC, and now what ESPN and ABC. It's mind blowing to me. We'll get into that later on. But UT Alabama, once again, Tennessee's defense is the star of this game, and you see that. Opening series, a quick, easy 3-and-out by the Tennessee defense. So turn over the offense, and Tennessee's driving down the field. You're feeling good about what they're doing, how they're moving the ball, open space, getting some runs, getting some short, easy plays, getting Nico involved. And then what happens? Same thing in the Florida game. Fumble. And right there, you're in field goal range. You're in field goal range right there where the fumble happened between Nico and Dylan Sampson. So that's 3 points. It's a very easy, makeable field goal right there for Max Gilbert, the kicker. It's pretty solid this year as a rusher freshman. So right there, chip field goal at very least in the 40-ish yard category. Should be up 3-0. Instead, turnover back to Alabama. And you watching this game, you could tell the effect Alabama was having offensively with how the effects of the crowd, the false starts, the movement, the pre-snap penalties, which that's noise and crowd effect right there. And it's come out and said how Jalen said it was loud when the lineman said it was loud in that stadium as well. And that's just what it was. But Tennessee's offense, it was more the same that we saw in the Arkansas game, and we saw in the Florida game as well. So we're gonna stamp this again. 7:52 left in the first quarter. First big play to the wide receiver, wide open. Nico overthrows it, and to this offense, that's a gut punch. It's big plays and running the football. And it wasn't like it was a covered play. It was a 50-50. No, it wasn't a 50-50 ball. It wouldn't have been a tough play. If Nico makes a throw, that's a 35, 40, 50-yard gain. Big play doesn't connect. So that's one. Big play. Didn't connect. Back to the Tide. They're driving in end zone territory, and Gerard McCoy, intercepts the ball into the end zone. And what a transfer he has been. One of the better transfers, along with Hendon Hooker, I think, to come to Knoxville. He's only a sophomore as well. So we'll have him at least another year, at least his junior year. maybe a senior year, but for sure we've got him for one more year because that dude can cover. He's about as shut down as a corner as I've seen Tennessee have in a long time. So back on offense, Tennessee goes 3:11 left. Another big play, a launch from Nico. If he hits the receiver in stride, that's 6 points. So you have a overthrow from Nico. So 2 big plays in the first quarter, unsuccessful. One would have been a touchdown. Those plays change the dynamic of the game, without a doubt. Field position wise, obviously that would have been a touchdown. And then the way, as good as Tennessee's defense is, they connect on a big play, but then they sputter. That can flip the field right there. And that's dangerous. Absolutely dangerous with how good this Tennessee defense has been. And then also in the first quarter, more problems with drop passes, some overthrown. And once again, it's the same problem we've seen with Tennessee these last 3 games. Sputtering on offense, but the defense has saved the bacon. So we move to the second quarter. I like the tempo the offense is having. You know, they're moving the ball, they're making plays until they're not, right? But the tempo's there, and I like that. Once again, the redshirt freshman makes another bad decision on the rollout, throws that pick. And you're in field goal range. At the very least, you're in field goal range. That's just a young guy not realizing where he is because he rolled out. He had time to throw it away. At the very least, take the sack instead of throwing it into double coverage and a turnover. I mean, that's tough. That's really, really tough pill to swallow. That's another easy field goal, or in the 40-yard range. It's 40 to 45-yard range. So right there. So how does the defense respond? They pick off the ball the very next drive from Alabama. Excuse me, they have a 3 and out. 3 and out. They stop Alabama. So we have about 1:30 left. And I liked Heupel being aggressive because, and I think part of why he was aggressive, he saw this offense, he saw the receivers get in space, and he's like, if we can just break one of these big plays that connects, we're going to be in business, whether it's a field goal or whether it's a touchdown before half. We're going to start cooking. So I like how he calls the timeout to try to get the ball back on a 3rd and 4. I liked it. I like the thought process there. Alabama ends up going for it, and they get a break on 4th and inches. And the refs look like they gave him a lot more than where the spot actually was. But yeah, that's unfortunate, that call, but I like the thought process with Hype and what he was trying to do, be a little bit more aggressive. In the first half, they were able to get after Milroe with some sacks and some pressures. But once again, 3rd straight game, the first half offense has been dreadful. Now, 3rd quarter, offense got rolling. And that's exactly what they needed. Obviously, they had to. When you get shut out in the first half, you got to score to win, right? And that's what they were able to do, and that's what they did. I love this too, right out of the jump. 13:58 left. Another big play. Once again, incomplete. Squirrel White dropped that pass. And it's been the only catchable big play so far for the receivers. But that's already the fourth big play that Tennessee's missed based on just poor execution. You know, as Nick Saban would say, our guys just got to execute. You know, if they would execute better, it would be a different score. It's got to execute. Well, Tennessee was not executing a key aspect of their offense. Once again, they continue to drive a little bit, and they have a shot at the end. They're driving. They're in red zone territory. Into the end zone. Drop pass. Like, oh my gosh, this is poetic. I mean, how can this not be? How is this possible? And fortunately, with the ball in the 2, Sampson's able to punch it in with 6:36 left. And what my opinion had to be 4-down territory. I write down, this has to be 4-down territory. Didn't matter, he got in before 4 downs, but the way that game is going, like the feel for it, the way your defense is playing, if you don't get it, maybe a 3-and-out, and Alabama punts from the end zone. Fortunately, they got in the checkerboard in the 6th variety, and you take the lead. Finally, with 1:32 left in the 3rd, Tennessee finally connects on one of their huge plays. Know what they do? They have to pay it off for a touchdown, right? And that's exactly what happened. And talk about I was curious. I was interested to see what was him being the full-time guy, what you're getting this year. Dylan Sampson's been every bit of it. He's going to be gone. He'll enter the draft as a junior, and he's going to break the Tennessee record for touchdowns in a single season, which is incredible. There's been a lot of daggum good backs that have run through Tennessee in the history of this program. And Sampson's been able to run the football, and they paid off with a touchdown. So we go to the 4th quarter. I love it again. Heupel trying to start this off with a bang. 13:37 left. Big play. Overthrown by Nico. Probably was a touchdown. Probably. That's 5. 5 missed big plays. But know what? We're going to double down. 13:33. Big play. Good throw. Drop pass by the receiver. We're up to 6. We're up to 6 now. That's killer for this Tennessee offense. Killers. And it's not every one of these, you should make a play. You should be connecting. But they haven't been able to. In this 4th quarter, too, when Tennessee finally is able to get in the checkerboard, it was the field position. They would have punt out deep, and Tennessee able to get a touchdown with 5:52 left because they started the ball, the drive on the 48-yard line. Able to punch it in. Then with 3 minutes left, I like what Heupel is going with here. It's still a close game. You're trying to work the clock, but you're also trying to make a statement. There's 3 minutes left, still plenty of time left. It's 3rd and 7. And Heupel decides to throw the ball to see if he can get that first down. And I liked it. I absolutely was fine with him trying to throw that football with the lead to basically ice the game away. He throws it, first down, Alabama uses last time out, then you can run the clock out. Or very close to it with, say you have 2:30 left in the ball game, maybe. Didn't happen. He had to punt. And of course, the Alabama guy, hometown Birmingham, Merle Brooks, picks it off to solidify the win for Tennessee. And if you're keeping score at home, it was one big play they connected on to six missed opportunities on big plays. 1 out of 6 is not good. That were surefire big plays. Heck, don't even have to connect on all of them. It's a totally different ballgame if the Tennessee connects on, say, 3 of them or 4 of the 6. Not even saying every last one of them. Half. And if you connect on half of them that are touchdowns, it could be a completely different ballgame. Some of those big plays leads to field goals, at least. They're not there. They're getting there. And that's why it's frustrating, but there's still some promise. So they have to get that cleaned up for Georgia. Have to. And they've got a week off. They got Kentucky. Maybe they can start connecting with some plays against Kentucky from the big play variety. Then they got Georgia, which is obviously going to be an uphill battle. It's going to be a tough ball game. And then you finish with UTEP and Vandy. So a realistic 10-2 is right there. Should be 11-1 because you played like crap against Arkansas. But realistically, you should be undefeated going into the Georgia game. You're not, but you should be. And hopefully that Arkansas loss isn't going to prevent them from getting to the playoffs, because that would be an unfortunate turn of events. 10-2, their schedule, I don't think the playoff committee is going to keep them out. So wait and see how everything shake out and how everything finishes up. And speaking of finishing up, I was very surprised how this game shook out in Georgia and Texas. And now I said the Alabama-Tennessee game was the third most watched game this year. Well, Georgia, Texas A&M, Georgia, Texas topped that with 12.9 million watched this game for ABC, the most watched game this year. And Georgia actually got on the jump. They didn't lollygag like they did in the Alabama game with the slow starts. Georgia able to capitalize. Georgia had turnover issues with Carson Beck. Has he had 2 picks? But Georgia's defense played well. And that's really the key there. We're in the first quarter, in the first half, really. Georgia able to capitalize on Texas's interceptions. And with this turnover, even though the offense got off to a slowish start still, they capitalized on the field position, their turnovers. And that's really what it was. Georgia had good field position, and their offense was better this game than it was, say, against Mississippi State. Against Alabama in the first half. I honestly think this is probably the best Georgia has looked this year. Maybe outside of the Clemson game. Didn't look great against Kentucky. Didn't look great against Mississippi State. Found ways to win. But, that's kind of the the story. Sometimes you find ways to win. That's what happened. Third quarter, Georgia, I don't think could really put Texas away, as Texas makes it 23 at 23-15, 2 minutes left in the third. Georgia able to close out the game, but it's they could close them out. I mean, granted, Texas is good. We think. I mean, this is, I think, Texas's first real test. And there's still a lot up in the air when it comes to Texas, when it comes to Georgia, when it comes to their schedules. And speaking of that, Georgia was better that game. But who's the best in the SEC? I don't know. There's been a lot of ups and downs this year. There hasn't been a one dominant team, but a lot of really daggum good ones. I mean, Georgia's got a conference loss. They lost to Alabama. They've also got Tennessee, Florida. I know you laugh at Florida, but it's a rivalry game in Jacksonville. Georgia should take care of Florida, but once again, it's a rivalry game. And then they got Ole Miss left as well. So they've got, and then Georgia Tech, but they'll co-tech. But then conference-wise, that's what you're looking at, conference. And then talking about best team, Georgia looked like the absolute one of the best teams in the country the second half of the Alabama game. But then the Texas game got to a slower start, i.e. Alabama. The Clemson game, slow start. We're able to turn it on. Didn't look good against Kentucky. Didn't look good against Mississippi State. So it looked good, but they're not scary. Good team, yeah. Then you got a little bit of surprise of who's leading the conference right now, and that's the Aggies. As they have a 4-0 conference. Granted, they got some tough teams left. They got LSU and Texas. And then sneaky Auburn, as bad as they've been, they hang around. So they've still got 2 tough SEC games, as they are obviously a real playoff contender. Only loss was to Notre Dame, which isn't a bad loss. And now if they lose to LSU and lose to Texas, they're probably on the outside looking in with 3 losses, how it sits right now. They split those games. All right. Now you're sitting at a two-loss Texas A&M team with losses to, let's just say, Texas and Notre Dame. Okay. Definitely in the conversation and in the discussion, which moves us to LSU. Kind of the same game that they're undefeated in the conference. They have obviously A&M this weekend, tomorrow. They've got Alabama, rivalry game against Alabama, still solid, good football team. Florida, rivalry game. They play them every year. And then later in the year, can Oklahoma figure out who's been up and down? Looks to be an okay-ish team, but you can't overlook them. They've got a loss. They lost to a bad, I guess, Southern Cal team who's 3-4. That loss is looking worse by the day. Once again, conversation, get in, depending on how it shakes out. They lose to Texas A&M, they lose to Alabama, they're probably done. A 3-loss team with one of your losses being Southern Cal, which doesn't look great. So and I'm obviously assuming they take care of Florida and Oklahoma. You split Alabama and you split Texas A&M. Another interesting playoff committee selection. Then you got Tennessee, who had a badish loss to Arkansas, with the only real true speed bump on their schedule right now is Georgia. It's the only big game on their schedule. Then you got Kentucky, Vandy, who's played better, and they are ranked. I didn't realize they were ranked until I looked. I was like, oh, how about that? Anchor Down's ranked. It's interesting. And then they got Mississippi State. 10-2 with an. We'll see how Arkansas finishes up, but bad-ish, okay-ish loss to Arkansas, not great. Then that leaves to Georgia. All right. And then if you watch Cincy's first 3 games, looked like one of the best teams in the country. Took care of Oklahoma. But then you look at the Arkansas through Alabama game, and you scratch your head. And granted, they get 2 wins out of those 3. Obviously in Alabama and Florida. So we'll see. You got Missouri, who got absolutely drilled by Texas A&M, was a no contest. Who I still have my feelers out about Missouri. They still have Alabama, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and South Carolina on the docket. So they've got 2 tough games still in Texas A&M and Alabama, and then some so-so games with South Carolina, which then you got Arkansas and Oklahoma, which Texas, once again, 1 conference loss. Lost to Georgia, we just saw last week. Florida, Arkansas, and A&M. So very realistically, they can only have 1 conference loss. And could be in the SEC championship game. And you watch Texas. Wow. These guys might be the best team in the country. Conversation, the best team in the country. And then you watch the Georgia game and you're like, wait a minute. Quinn Ewers, maybe he's still working his way back, and maybe that's some of it. But, I mean, they put Archie in for a time there. And then still in the fight, you got your 2 lost conference teams. Yes, Vandy as well, but come on, they're not super real. You got Alabama and Ole Miss with 2 conference losses. Alabama obviously has Missouri coming up this week, tomorrow on Saturday. LSU, rivalry game, Oklahoma, and then the big one, you want to laugh, Auburn, as bad, as dreadful as they've been. It's the Iron Bowl. Need I say more? I mean, there's years where the last few years Auburn's been terrible, and they play them tight. Was it last year? Or is it 2 years ago? Auburn should have beaten Alabama to keep them out of the playoffs, and they have that heave in the fourth quarter on the last play of the game to beat Auburn, which would have made Alabama second loss. It was like a 6-6 or a 5-7 Auburn team. I can't remember, was it last year or was it 2 years ago? Bad Auburn team would have kept Alabama out of the playoff. So don't dismiss that game. It's the Iron Bowl. Those things, there's always weird stuff that happens in Auburn, Alabama. And you get Ole Miss, who got Georgia. They still got Georgia, Arkansas, Florida, and then once again the Egg Bowl. They should kill Mississippi State, but Mississippi State's getting better. And that's a hated rivalry too, where sometimes weird things happen in the Egg Bowl. They just do. Why? I don't know. They do. So that's another one. You want to dismiss the Mississippi State game, but it's tough. It's not a gimme. And that's, so you asked me who's the best team. I don't know. Ask me next week. I might give you a different answer. A few early in the season, I would say it was Tennessee. later in the mid-season, I would have said maybe Alabama because they took care of Georgia. And then the following week, you have Alabama lose to Vanderbilt. It's like, what's going on here? Which that's obviously a bad loss. I think Alabama's right now they're out of playoff. They're not in a playoff right now. Another loss, I think they're done. With one of the losses being Vanderbilt and Tennessee. Tennessee's a fine loss, but Vanderbilt getting better, I know. But yeah, they've got an uphill battle right now. And talk about uphill battles. I don't think this is going to be an uphill battle for either one of these teams, as it's a World Series, and I don't think any Major League Baseball fan, true baseball fan, is happy with this matchup unless you live in New York or Los Angeles. And that's probably about the only part of California. Southern California ain't the Padres ain't cheering for you. The hated the hated Giants ain't cheering for you either. That fan base. So Yankees fans, it's New York and it's LA. That's it. Now, I'm going to be interested to see their ratings. I know, obviously, huge markets in LA and New York, 1 and 2 size markets, but I'm curious to see other markets and what they rank, where they fare. Like, what's an Atlanta market look like? What's say a Columbus, a Cleveland market, a Denver market? Decent big size markets like a Dallas, a Houston, an Austin market, where do they sit? What do they do ratings wise, number wise? I think the less casual baseball fans going to tune in more of, oh, I've heard of this Shohei Ohtani guy. Let me check him out. Oh, I know who Aaron Judge is. He almost hit 70 home runs. He hit 70 home runs a few years ago, right? Wait, Juan Soto. I've heard that name. He's supposed to be a free agent and get $500 million, right? Oh, Garrett Cole. Didn't he win a World Series with the Astros when they cheated? Wasn't he on that team, right? So the casual fan, the parachute fan might jump in and check out a game or two. We'll see. I'm kind of intrigued by it. Now, when it comes to this World Series, my edge is going to the Yankees. And here's why. Their starting staff. They don't have to do a bullpen game like the Dodgers do. Which, that to me, that blows my mind. You're the Dodgers. You have the highest, or maybe the second highest payroll in the big leagues, and you can't have 4 starters. You don't have 4 starters. Yes, injuries. I don't care. You can't figure out how 4 starters. I know Kershaw's hurt. I know Glasnell's hurt, but you should have expected that with Tyler Glasnow. He pitched 120 innings or 25 innings. That was his career high. So he was going to be hurt, right? You can almost pencil it in. He's hurt. When I think the bullpen game could be a problem, maybe not that game, but later on, I don't know if they've announced it yet. I think it's kind of going to be a play-by-ear. Game 3 or Game 4. It's going to be the bullpen game for the Dodgers. So this could be the third time the Yankees lineup has seen some of the Dodgers guys. And I think that matters. Very much so. You saw it in the Yankees-Cleveland series. Guardians had one of the best bullpens in the game this year. But the Yankees saw their guys, their big-time guys, over and over and over again. You see how that slider breaks. how that changeup or that cutter moves a little bit, that curveball. You've seen it a few times. And I think that's going to matter. Dodgers got a better offense, but Yankees offense is pretty solid. And that's why I like the Yankees in this series. I don't want either team to win. I hope both of them lose. I don't know if that's possible, but I hope both teams lose this World Series. And that the Yankee staff's solid as a whole. I've said their pitching staff's better, but their bullpen's solid. It's not like they've got a terrible bullpen where they have to ride their starters longer. It's just 7-8 innings. No, they're okay if they pull a starter 5 1/3, 4 innings, because they got a solid bullpen, and that's that's important too. Begrudgingly, I think it might be a fun series. I'm just not looking forward to it. Not excited about it. Not looking forward to it. But starts Friday, 8:00. All games gonna be 8:00 Eastern. I think I saw. So 5:05 starts West Coast time, 8:08 Eastern times, and baseball season's wrapping up. And it's I can't speak in the World Series. That's where it's at. As always, you can follow me on Twitter at Lock It Up Media. That's Lock It Up Media on Twitter. Also, check us out at E5280 Sports. That's E5280 Sports. You've been listening to Lock It Down Sports. I'm Mark Hover. Talk to you next week.